This is K.M. Weiland, and you're listening to the 76th episode of the Wordplay Podcast. One of my favorite parts of the writing process is getting to be the director of the movies I see in my head. When I was a kid, long before I ever considered becoming a writer, I would refer to my stories as my movies. Now that I'm inching my way through the difficult climax scenes in my work in progress, The Deepest Breath, I'm putting my visual tendencies to good use in figuring out the choreography and pacing that are always crucial to the final scenes in any story. It's a slow, often tricky, but always rewarding process. The December issue of my e-letter hit inboxes last week. It included the usual roundup of inspirational quotes, creativity jump-starters, and helpful links, as well as the article Illustrate Character Through His Possessions, and my response to a subscriber's question about whether it's a good idea to allow readers in on information to which the main character isn't privy. If you're not receiving the e-letter and would like to, you can sign up for my mailing list on my website at kmweiland, that's weiland.com/mailing-list.php. You can read back issues online at kmweiland.com/eletter-issues.php. The winner of this month's Helping Writers Become Authors Network drawing is Miranda Allenby. As her prize, she will receive a copy of Jane Smiley's book, 13 Ways of Looking at the Novel. Members of the network will be automatically entered in this month's drawing for the wonderful book, Beginnings, Middles, and Ends by Nancy Kress. You can join the network for great benefits and special package deals by visiting kmweiland.com/network.php. Bring POV characters' voices to life. The latest post in the video series on my blog offers examples from Barbara Kingsolver's The Poisonwood Bible to show how she created 5 unique narrative voices. You can watch the video on my blog at wordplay-kmweiland.blogspot.com. New videos are posted every Wednesday. Meanwhile, enjoy this week's podcast. What kind of writer are you? Let me share a truth that is both deceptively simple and all too often overlooked. Not all writers are created equal. In fact, every writer is as unique as his fingerprints. Just as our stories are, we hope, unique, so are our personalities and lifestyles, and as a result, our working patterns. In pursuit of bettering our craft, we voraciously study the masters, reading every how-to book and author interview we can get our hands on. But what we sometimes don't realize is that even if a particular method or routine works for one author, that singular success doesn't automatically make it a universal principle. In general, human beings like the protective solidity of rules. We like to know that if we write 1 page every day, 5 days a week, we'll finish a book in a year and be published in 2. But life doesn't work that way. It may be that writing a page a day is the perfect routine for us, and we will finish that book in a year. But it could also be that the rigidity of such a schedule will keep us from our ultimate productivity. It could be that we will work much better if we allow ourselves more flexibility and less pressure. In the writer's December 2010 article, Making Time to Write, Cheryl Boland points out that every author's goals, writing schedule, and methods are different. Some of us can whip out 20 pages a day. Others labor to produce 5. You need to determine if you work best doing a set number of pages or hours or scenes per day or per week. Which kind of writer are you? You must determine how you produce best. It's vital that each author discover for himself the methods that work best for him. Just because Margaret Atwood does X and Stephen King does Y is no reason for us to blindly follow suit. Read widely, learn all you can about what works for other authors, and experiment to discover which methods will offer you the best results. My own writing routine is a continually evolving process. What worked for me 5 years ago isn't necessarily what works for me now. And what works for me now isn't necessarily going to still work for me in another 5 years. With every new story I write, I learn a little bit more about myself and the routines that make me most productive. I'm constantly refining my work habits, always listening to my instincts, and paying attention when I feel I'm forcing myself to observe a stricture that just isn't working. The individual writer is the only expert into his own proficiency. Never feel as if you have to force your writing habits to mirror someone else's, no matter how successful they may be in their own right. Find what works for you and stick with it. Thank you for listening to the Wordplay Podcast. To read a transcript of this episode, Visit me on the web at wordplay-kmweiland, that's weiland.blogspot.com, and be sure to listen again next week.